It's time now for French Connections, our weekly look at the intricacies of life here in France. Now, if you've been following this segment, we've explored the ins and outs of wine on our show, but many of you were curious about our drinking culture in general. So to tell us a bit more about that, we have our very own Florence Villeminot. Hi, Flo.
Hey, Jeannie. Well, French people do take pride in the idea that they like to savor the good things in life, and that goes for the way they drink alcohol as well. Now, it's a very social event, as it is in other countries, often done before, during, or after a good meal with friends and family, and starting quite a young age. Now, there's no official drinking age, but it is illegal to sell alcohol to anyone younger than 18. But it must be said, most French people start drinking a lot younger than that, often under adult supervision. It's kind of a rite of passage, if you will.
Now, France is also known for a selection of alcoholic beverages, not just wine.
That's right. On The Local, which is a great website about French news, they have a map, actually. They call it a booze map, showing regional specialties. And I must say, it's a great way to discover France. You have cider in Normandy, cognac, Cointreau, and of course, pastis and Ricard, two aniseed-flavored spirits that you'll find down in Marseille, down here, but favorites all around France.
Now, many of those drinks are drunk during what we call the apéro or the apéritif. It's a before-dinner drink, and it's really a cultural institution here in France.
Indeed. 1 in 2 French people say they drink apéro at least once a week, sometimes more than that. And it's such an important part of French life here that it's our word du jour. You can see most people use the smaller version, apéro, rather than apéritif, and it's a huge deal here. In fact, there was a French author, Paul Morand, who famously said that the apéritif is an evening prayer in France. And there's certainly an idea of communion in it. People get together with their friends and family and they unwind. It's sacred throughout the year, but especially during the summer. Take a listen.
We've had apéro every evening this summer. It's a ritual that symbolizes the summer holidays, letting go, disconnecting. It's one of life's great pleasures. You're relaxed, you finished your day, you make the most of things. You don't think about stress.
Apéro is a moment to get together with friends.
It's a moment to relax and share.
I love it. It makes me happy. It's that simple.
Is it the best time of the day?
Of course.
I gotta say, I really agree with her. Apéro is one of my favorite things about life in France, in moderation, of course.
Absolutely, and we can't stress enough, drink responsibly. Having said that, apéro is certainly a wonderful tradition. Let's talk a bit more in detail about the drinks first. So what does one drink at an apéro?
Well, you can pretty much drink whatever you want, and it's interesting because there are trends that come and go in and out of fashion. Back in the day, for instance, I remember my parents would drink whiskey and port, and kir was a big thing, of course, with cassis or red currant liqueur and white wine. These days, people tend to drink lighter wines, lighter beers, and of course cocktails like mojitos and the ubiquitous spritz, which is everywhere these days. Now, what's interesting is the word apéro originates from the Latin word aperire, which means to open the appetite before you sit down to a meal. But like everything French, apéro often includes food, and there are favorite snacks, all sorts of nuts, chips, saucisson, as well as hummus and tarama, a kind of a fish roe spread. Some people keep it simple, some people go all out and make really complicated canapés, and what's interesting is it can often actually turn into a meal, in which case there's another word for it, an apéro dînatoire.
Now, the apéro's position as this pillar of French culture actually could be challenged by changing attitudes, changing habits in the way we eat and drink here in France.
Indeed, because the French are amongst the heaviest drinkers in Europe, but over the years, recent studies suggest that they're actually cutting back. For instance, if we look at what was the deal in the 1960s, French people drank on average per year, per person aged 15 and up, the equivalent of 26 liters of pure alcohol. You can see these days it's closer to 12 liters of pure alcohol, which is quite a step down. Now, there's a whole wide range of reasons why people are drinking less. Let's listen to some of them.
We tend to serve individual glasses of wine, which we didn't do before. At lunch, people will drink one glass of wine or none at all. We no longer sell the half bottles or bottles.
Police are doing more and more alcohol tests on the roads. People don't go out as much, and purchasing power has dropped.
People drink less over the course of an evening. They'll buy one bottle, not two, but they'll spend more.
So French people are drinking less. They're putting quality over quantity. However, there is a trend that has many health officials worried, and it's a rise in binge drinking here in France, which I know I never saw when I first came here.
Well, it's interesting because they actually call it le binge drinking. So it's actually an English word used in French. And it's interesting because it used to be kind of offensive to be seen as drunk in public, but it's becoming kind of banal for young people. In fact, according to studies, 1 in 4 15 to 30-year-olds are actually excessively drunk at least once a month. It's a phenomenon that seems to be encouraged by things that you can see online, and it certainly is a source of concern for doctors.
This mass consumption is very problematic, and it's become the norm since 2007, 2008, ever since advertisements for alcohol were authorized on the internet. We knew it, and we've just relaxed the rules even more, even though there's ample evidence that when there are ads, consumption increases.
Public health officials say that alcohol is linked to around 50,000 deaths a year. So that's why there's so much control about advertisements. For instance, laws say that you can't see ads for alcohol on TV or in the movies or anywhere where young people will see them. But it's a little bit more tricky on internet. And if you do see an advertisement for alcohol, there'll always be a warning. It'll say the abuse of alcohol is dangerous for your health. You should drink in moderation. And that's certainly a message I want to end this show on.
Absolutely. Drink responsibly, everyone. But do enjoy your apéro if you have one. Florence Villeminot, thank you so much for that latest French Connections. Don't forget, if you have any other questions about life here in France, culture in general, be sure to send Flo a tweet at Flo Villeminot, and she'll be sure to get to it in an upcoming French Connections.